Cartoons, the animated frontier. These are the voyages of the Cellcast podcast. Its continuing mission to explore strange new cartoons, to seek out new animation styles and new creative storytelling methods, to boldly go where so few ever go again. To another episode of the Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who, he was just out patrolling last night and he got attacked by something in the middle of the night. Welcome, Jacob.
La-di-da-di-da. No! Ah, crap, I got bit by a vampire again!
Again?
Yeah! This is twice in 2 months.
I would think the werewolf curse would fight that off a little bit.
That is true. Come on, guys, really? Why, thank you. And let me introduce our co-host, a man who is restraining his inner vampire urges. Welcome, Drew.
Well, I would say I want to suck your blood, blah, 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 but in that previous movie we said says the Dracula doesn't say blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
But anyway, joining us this episode, we've got a man who, he requested me say to let you all know that he sucks. Welcome, Francisco.
Hello, Drew and Jacob. I am Francisco, the vampire. And I'm going to be done with that.
Hello, well, thank you guys for having me on.
Not a problem, man. Not a problem.
He's the vampire captain.
Captain
Yes.
Vampire.
Captain Vampire.
At times.
Vampire Captain F?
Sure.
There we go.
That has a nice ring to it, though. My middle name's Javier with an X, so let's go with
That does sound
Vampire
cooler.
Captain X.
There we
Does
go.
sound cooler. Anyway,
Very nice.
how are y'all doing?
Doing quite well. How about you guys?
I was slightly frazzled for a second, but I'm doing much better now. Thank you very much.
Because your toe got hurt.
Yes, my toe got hurt.
Yeah, your toe got hurt.
Yeah, my toe got
That
hurt a minute ago.
frazzled me too. Yeah.
But other than that, it's good. Work is interesting like usual. And I'm trying to, work on more art projects. And yeah, I'm good. How about you, Drew?
It's been an interesting week.
Oh, completely agree.
That's about the most I want to get into it. It's just been really, it's just been interesting. But I am definitely ready to get into reviewing this one.
Yes.
Jacob, you want to start the interrogation?
Sure. All right. So is there...
I didn't bring any holy water, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Where's the steak?
Medium rare, please.
All right, so as everybody knows, on this show, whenever we have a guest, we have a little rapid-fire questionnaire. So in the spirit of Halloween month, here in October, on the Cellcast, I'm going to ask Francisco a few questions regarding Halloween movies.
Here we go.
All right, so Francisco,
Jacob,
if you were to, what is your favorite vampire-based movie, and it can't be Vampire Hunter D?
Can't be Bloodlust?
Nope.
Can't be connected to the franchise.
Favorite vampire movie.
Yeah, in general.
And we're talking like legit vampires, not like aliens or something that has a vampiric bent. Like you could say, I think in Life Force, the movie Life Force, she sucks your life essence out of you. So that is in a way a type of vampirism. You're talking about like the fangs, the capes, all that.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, vampires in general.
Classical vampires.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, that leaves Twilight out also.
Yeah, we're talking classical vampire. We're talking actual vampires.
Yeah,
Yes,
vampires.
yes.
Oh man, I am not prepared for this.
Exactly.
I don't know why I'm struggling right now.
That's
Jeez.
like 9/10 of the reason for this.
Oh gosh.
Breathe. Drink some blood.
I haven't. Okay. So, I will say, Vampire ID Bloodlust would probably be at the top of the
Okay.
list. But I remember it's been years and years since I've seen it, but I remember liking Underworld with Kate Beckinsale. I did like no, I'll go with Van Helsing. That was more fun, I think. The Hugh Jackman, Kate Beckinsale movie.
Oh, okay.
So I'll go with Van Helsing.
The vampire in that movie made me laugh out loud. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the vampire!"
The villain
Yes.
from Moulin Rouge.
Huh?
You're talking about in Van Helsing.
Yes.
So that actor was also played the villain in Moulin Rouge.
Really? I
If
didn't
you've
know
never
that.
seen Moulin Rouge.
I still haven't seen Moulin Rouge.
Oh, it's good. It's a good movie.
It is. I agree. Okay.
All right.
Next.
Okay, so if you were transported into a animated world with vampires, and you had to bring one character with you from the animated multiverse of like any, if we're talking anime, we're talking cartoon, we're like TV series, animated American cartoons, whatever. You had to bring one character with you. What character would you bring?
Oh gosh, that's tough. So I first go to possibly Link from Legend of Zelda. He's up there because he'd say like, "Excuse me, vampire." I also like.
Well, depending on how far up that vampire is in ability into its gender, he could actually say, "Excuse me, princess."
That's true. Good point. I also really like Naofumi from Rising of the Shield Hero. That's a good one.
Yeah.
He certainly could. I'm sure he could defend me from most vampires. Oh no! I got one. Here you go. Oh jeez, I can't remember his name. You all in chat, like Ashley, D. Tungsten, Paul, you'll know. But the main character from Dr. Stone, because he could come up with a cure for vampires.
Yeah, and it would only take 10 episodes for him to actually get it made.
10 episodes. It's fine.
A show I know very little about.
A show
good.
show that I watched like all of season 1 during Snowpocalypse because I had nothing else to do. But it's a good show. It was just that happened to be my show that week.
I want to say his name's Senku.
Yeah,
or something
Senku, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there you go.
he just lets you when he gets happy, he tells you to get excited. I'm surprised, Francisco, though you left off what I feel is an obvious one. You didn't say Simon Belmont from Captain N the Game Master.
Oh my god.
Because he did appear in that.
See, this is why I need Paul here. Because he would not have missed a beat. That's the perfect answer. What am I thinking?
Oh my gosh.
I know he's in one episode. That's as far as I know.
Oh, okay.
No, he's one of the core team.
Is he? I never actually got a chance to watch Captain N. So
Oh, okay.
because it was off the air by the
him-
time I was old enough to for it to be on TV here. So
Okay. Yeah, I know him, Mega Man, and a princess. I forget if it's Princess Peach or Daisy, but they were like the core team.
Yeah.
And then they would see other characters. Yeah.
Kid Icarus.
I just know that Mother Brain was
Icarus, that's
technically the villain, and that
Yeah.
was the weirdest
Yes.
designed version of Mother Brain I'd
Oh
ever
my
seen.
gosh, that gave me nightmares as a kid.
Yes, because that's obviously what the designers of the game intended.
Yes.
That to
Oh my
be.
gosh, those lips.
You got anything else?
What
I
were
may have
they
a couple
thinking?
questions.
Huh?
If you got any other questions, I got some. I might have some.
Oh.
Okay. Take it away.
All right.
Tag team.
Yes.
Here
Yeah.
we go.
Tag
People's elbow.
over the rope.
Okay, Francisco, here's a tough one for you. What's your favorite candy?
We talking like candy bar or just anything? Any candy?
Anything that you would expect to show up in a trick or treat bucket.
Oh, okay. Nutrageous. I love Nutrageous.
Okay.
I can't seem to find them anymore. So, Nutrageous.
All right.
Reese's Nutrageous.
Assuming that budget is not an issue, who would you like to dress up for Halloween?
Ooh.
Ooh. Okay, so I'm gonna go with this because I have to play to my attributes, which in this case it's my hair, not so much my height, but
Or lack thereof.
The
Oh, jeez.
Drew roasting Francisco.
Hey,
look at me.
I
On a
am just
steak.
helping to paint the picture for our auditory listeners.
Hey, for all they know, I'm 7'2". They don't need to know.
And he has an afro.
Yeah, and I have an afro exactly. And I'm so stacked. over
Yeah,
there.
you and D are just like twins on screen right now.
Like Arnold and Dan DeVito.
Exactly.
Exactly. You're practically twins.
Oh my gosh.
Or like,
so-
or like Kermit the Frog and Fozzie Bear
Oh, gosh.
in Great Muppet Caper.
Yes.
I can't remember his name, but in Cowboy Bebop, Spike's friend who sort of owns the ship that they fly around in.
Jet Black.
What was it?
Jet?
Jet Black.
Yeah, that sounds right. So I could grow his facial hair pretty well and have it like look like that, and I have sort of a bald head. So his height, it would be an issue, but I guess I'd costume up that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
and
That'd be nice.
and do that.
No, I know what you mean playing towards physical attributes, because pretty much the only person I can dress up as is Mario.
Okay. Yeah, I could.
He's got the
Because
stash.
I've got the stash, as you can plainly see.
Yeah.
I actually do own a red hat, a red Mario hat, and I own the overalls. I just need to get a long sleeved red shirt, and I'll be in good shape.
There
But
you
I'm
go.
also too lazy to go to that much trouble.
I'm sure if I had Team Womp on it, I'd get it right away.
No. Mario's not on Team Womp. He's on Team Mario.
But you'd be covering the red shirt with the overalls, so it doesn't matter. It's just a way to get the red shirt.
Anyway,
That's
that's all I had.
So I do have one final question. What was your favorite? If you were allowed, be like, I don't know, your childhood. Were you allowed to grow up?
Was he allowed to grow up? I would hope
No.
so.
Be like trick or treating. Were you
yes.
allowed to dress up?
Yes.
What was your
Yes, I
What
was.
was your favorite costume when you were a kid?
Well, the one I remember the most vividly was as Voltron,
Okay.
and so, but it's mainly just like like a half Voltron mask. It wasn't like a full helmet or
Right.
anything. And then like a smock that I think had it was like one of those plastic films that you.
I know the
wear,
kind
and
you're talking about.
Yeah, and it didn't like have a picture of Voltron on it. It was like looked like the chest of Voltron.
I got you.
But and I don't think it had any of the like lion claws or anything. But I just
It's kind of
remember
like
liking that
it's
so much
kind of
'cause I
like
was
the
really-
Optimus Prime costumes you see at Walmart nowadays.
I think
Yeah.
so. I think so. Yes. So I think that one, just because that's the one I have a memory of, and also I remember for some reason my mom was a vampire, a bit like a Count Dracula-esque character for that Halloween too. So
Huh.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
it's a nice memory. Yeah.
Going back to the like dressing up as a character. I remember because my mom always made like homemade costumes, like every year. Be like, I remember going around as a ghost, and it was literally they threw a white bag over us and propped out the eyes. We were ghosts. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. Like, obviously, you're working off a budget, but I found that hilarious in retrospect.
That's better than doing with the standard white sheet, because then you just ruin a bed sheet.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. If I was to dress up today as an adult, I would probably, because I love archery. I'm an archery nut. I love archery. I would definitely.
Me too. Oh, I didn't know this. I love archery too.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
I've always loved archery. If it's Legolas, if it's Hunger Games, definitely Arrow from CW. I would definitely go as Green Arrow from like season 5 because I love that suit.
So do you? I don't know if you actually shoot bow and arrows. Do you like compound, recurve?
Compound.
What's your
Compound.
Okay, see, I'm a recurve.
Oh, okay. I like recurves because I've shot recurves, but I like just compound.
I prefer a 12 gauge shotgun.
That's true.
Ooh, I'm gonna stomp all over your archery talk right now.
I'm just jacking with you, dude.
I know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
My voice is just jacking with you, Drew.
Okay.
We're all having fun.
Yeah.
man.
My
Exactly.
question is, who's Jack? Because he keeps getting interrupting this
Yeah.
conversation.
Did
Yeah, doesn't he have like 24 hours to do something else somewhere
I
else?
don't know. I don't know. Hey, we got anything else?
no?
All right.
I think Jack drowned in the Atlantic though.
Too soon. Too soon.
Titanic, Jack.
Oh,
I still haven't watched that movie.
Me either, but I know the movie. I own the film. I just haven't watched it. No, okay, seriously. There was we were doing a Bible study yesterday at church, and I'm single, but I'm in a marriage class. I'm in a marriage class learning about marriage.
That wasn't yesterday.
Yeah,
that would have
cool.
been Wednesday.
Well, Wednesday. Well, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yesterday was the singles Bible
Yeah,
study.
that is
I
true.
was there.
That is true. But Wednesday night we were doing a marriage, and it's a book based off. So what did you expect? It's a book. It's a book based, and we're talking about what your favorite romantic comedies were, and I think someone piped up Titanic, and like everybody was like,
A romantic
"Oh."
comedy?
Yeah, or something like that. I don't know.
a romance movie, but not romantic.
Anything
Yeah,
is a
like
romantic
a
tragedy.
romance movie or romantic comedy.
I love when Jack froze. It's so hilarious.
It was so middle.
Especially since there was plainly enough room on that board
Absolutely.
for him to climb up on.
Very
But
true.
Rose wouldn't move out of the way.
Way. Come on, Rose. Quit being selfish. Let Jack on the deck.
I still haven't seen the movie. I've just seen pictures.
I love history, so they're like the Titanic. I love when I learned about it when I was a kid. It's like, oh my gosh, I gotta learn more. And I was a kid. It'd be like I would go to the library and I would find every Titanic book and I would try to read them. Yeah, granted, I grew up with a reading disorder, and I still have a reading disorder. So those were fun. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, pretty picture. Wait, pretty picture. What am I reading?
I need to look up an animated movie to threaten you with now.
Oh,
In the same vein as Food Fight, but it is actually based
oh
on Titanic.
no.
'Cause I know
no,
two
no.
films.
Oh, brother. Either
You just reminded me of them. That's your fault.
agreed. So either way, I love history. When I learned about the Titanic disaster, and I was like, ooh, I've got to learn more because I've watched like every documentary there is about this disaster. I haven't watched the movie yet. That's weird.
I mean, well, it's not a historical.
It's not completely historically accurate. They get
Yeah.
the best information they had in 1997, I believe.
Which was only like, 12 years after they found the ship again?
1985.
Yeah, because I would have been 12.
Yeah, roughly.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm a nerd like that. I love history and love that kind of stuff. So yeah,
So we're here to review Titanic.
apparently.
I don't think I'm very prepared for that, but I can give it a shot.
Hey, we're on.
Hey, my heart will go on.
Pretty good.
Ironically,
Oh my God.
ironically, we're all in the same boat. Anyway, anyway, Francisco, what have you been watching?
Drew, I have been watching you guys and yucking it up. Let's see. TV wise, I've been watching Manifest, which was
Ooh, good one.
I think I finished the second season. I'm just about to start the third one. It's gotten really good. Really enjoying it. I believe Ashley here in chat turned me on to it, and I believe she said that. So I may be misquoting you, Ashley, or Jacob, if you know, that it's Netflix is gonna greenlight or has greenlit a final conclusion because apparently it doesn't really wrap up in the third season.
I
So
haven't
I'm
I
glad-
haven't heard that, but I wouldn't be surprised how well received that show was. Because a fellow church member turned me on to Manifest, and he was just like,
Oh,
"Dude,
cool.
this is an amazing series." And I watched like the first two and a half episodes, and it was like, "Wow, this is really good." I was blown away.
I think it'd be so funny. And Jacob, if you ever find this, or anyone else who watches Manifest listening to this, if you ever find a supercut on YouTube of everyone saying, "I think it's a calling. Do you have a calling? I have a calling. Was it a calling?" Just like all of them together, I think it'd be ridiculously funny for some reason. But let's see, what else have I been watching? Still watching. Last time I was on, I mentioned watching Troll Hunters with my kids. Still watching that. We're closing out season 3, which is when the next sort of series starts. So it's just gotten better and better. It's such a good series. I highly recommend it.
I need to get back into it because I've watched like all the first season. I need to get back to it.
It gets even better. Yeah. I mean, the one thing I found out third season, they changed the voice of the main actor, of the main character, Jake. I'm like, oh, come on, don't tell me they like fired him.
No, there's actually a very sad reason for that.
Yes. Oh, so you know. Okay, go ahead, Drew. What was?
You don't think I know about Anton Yelchin dying?
I didn't know that was his name.
As in Chekhov?
Really?
Yeah, the Chekhov from the Abramsverse movies. He's the voice.
Oh,
of the
okay.
main
Yeah.
guy
Oh, yeah. I remember that. That was sad.
Yeah, but that's why they had to change the voice for him for Troll Hunters.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And they figured out an in-universe way of doing it, but
there's at least they didn't just change it and expect you to deal, because a lot of times with the kids shows that's what they'll do.
Yeah, exactly. No, this was nice. They made a in-universe reason for it, which was I appreciate it. And they're not afraid to, and it makes sense all the more because they flash back to past episodes and it's the old voice, so it makes sense that it's like, oh yeah, because he hadn't had his change yet.
Right.
So it's good.
That's kind of like I think it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 2013-2012 series. They had one.
Like, didn't Leonardo have a voice?
Yeah, because they changed over to Seth Green.
Yeah,
it's like literally.
I like.
Yeah, literally in the.
Do you know why?
Yeah, the third season, because apparently the original actor got fired for some reason. I can't remember why, but then they brought in Seth Green, and they made the perfect transition to where by the end of season 2, Leo had gotten beat up, and they get back to the old farm. And Leo is having a problem with his voice, and when he starts talking, he sounds like Seth Green.
Oh,
it's like, man,
okay.
but like, what's wrong with my voice? They make this really interesting shift pattern where it sounds like his old self, but now he sounds like his Seth Green version, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Okay. I haven't watched that much of that.
Oh, it's
series.
so good.
I've only watched I know. I watched like half of the first season and I love it, but I never finished it.
Oh yes, season 3 gets good, and then it's like the end of season 3. Then season 3 is good. I haven't watched all of it, but it's so good. It's such a good series.
Okay. Nice.
It's on Hulu if you have Hulu.
The only other thing I'll add, since it's Halloweeny, is I recently watched John Carpenter's The Fog.
Oh, okay.
And I enjoyed it. I was like, sometimes with like supernatural horror, I tend to stay away from, but I like John Carpenter's movies so much, all the ones I've seen, that I wanted to be a little bit of a completionist. So I was like, okay, I'll see how this is, and it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
I was not. Sometimes I don't know if you guys have this experience. I call them like sticky horror movies, where after you watch it, like the images are just like keep oppressing you throughout the night while you're trying to sleep, and you don't like want to walk around in the dark. You don't want to like look over the covers because you're thinking something's gonna jump out at you. So I didn't have any of that with The Fog. I thought it was a fun movie, a bit too fast paced. I felt like, let's slow down and breathe some here, John, but this is fine. But it's free if you're curious about it. It's sort of like a pirate ghost story is how I'll phrase it.
Okay.
And you can watch it for free now on Tubi.tv if you're interested.
Oh,
See,
okay.
I don't have that sticky movie problem you have, Francisco, for one very, very good reason. I don't watch those kind of movies.
Well, then you don't have an issue.
Because I'm not a fan of horror.
Yeah.
Then why did you watch this movie?
This is not really horror. This is more thriller. There's a difference.
Thriller action kind of movie that has horror elements built in.
Yes. Yeah. Very fair.
This movie wasn't trying to scare me, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So it failed. You're mocking the movie for not scaring you. Wow.
No. I don't like stuff that tries to scare me, because most of the time either that's all the movie is doing and there's almost no story, or I have a bad tendency to see through like scares sometimes. Not intentionally, it's just how I am. So I'm already, before the jump scare happens, I already know what's coming just because of how I tend to watch movies.
That makes
And
sense.
so, and on the off chance one of those things does actually get me, I don't want to deal with that. So, I mean, the worst things I have watched of that type of genre would have been when we watched Halloween,
Which I
and
love.
Candyman.
Oh my gosh, Candyman.
And
I don't want to see Candyman. I'm not. I something about me like looking into mirrors and like summoning things.
I'm not going to suggest. See, here's the thing. I actually, from a story perspective, I preferred Candyman to Halloween because the first Halloween has no story, in my opinion.
What? How dare
You.
Drew?
I've mentioned this. It's on
You
the
have.
other show.
I know. Well,
has-
it bears mentioning that. How dare you trample upon the good name of John Carpenter? How dare you?
But in contrast, at least the original Candyman had a good story to it, but it's not.
Well,
it's
that's
not
cool.
one I ever want to watch again.
Right.
And
Totally fair. Totally
once we kind of separated from the other show, which we've not officially announced, that's actually one of the movies I was glad I didn't have to go watch.
Right.
Fair, very fair.
Now, granted, like Candyman, I liked it more for the like you could tell what was going on in the story, but I think for me, I love the like Candyman's backstory because that's always interesting. The second one, not so much. It was like, oh, okay, that's a little much of a stretch. But John Carpenter's Halloween, what was that, 1968? 68, 78? One of those?
78
it
probably.
was. Oh no, it was like I think it was 78 because the fog was 1980.
Yeah, it was 1978.
I
I
think The Fog was right
love
after.
that movie. It's a movie I asked for Halloween for Christmas last year, and they got it for me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this movie.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Now, when we
I haven't
watched
seen it in
that,
a long time. I want to rewatch
when we
it.
watched that reboot of Halloween, I did like that.
Yeah,
because
that's a
there
good
was
one.
story, but the first one, I was just like, it's just her running away from a guy in a Captain Kirk mask.
It's about the atmosphere.
Exactly, and the tension and the
There's
drama and everything.
And I don't like any of these characters, so why should I care? If I was on the Retro Rewind podcast for an episode on that, it would be tragic for me because I just didn't enjoy myself. I wasn't scared. I was just like,
Well,
they're all running. It's teenagers running away from a guy in a mask. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I finally got around to watching Halloween 2 because I found it on sale. I was like, oh, why not?
The one in the hospital.
Yeah, in the hospital. The most boring movie on the planet. There's one good, interesting scene, but everything else is like, okay, cookie cutter. This is nothing like the original because apparently John Carpenter was under the influence of alcohol when he was writing this.
It's better than some
Well,
things.
that may be a piece of it. If you, I'd be happy to continue this Halloween discussion.
Yeah.
I will say, if you want a sort of a good overview of all the Halloween movies from the first one through to the 2018 reboot or continuation. depending on how you wanna look
Technically,
at
it's
it.
the second movie now.
Yeah. I would suggest the YouTube channel In Praise of Shadows. They have a really good retrospective that goes through them and talks about some of the behind-the-scenes production and why certain movies were the way, like why Halloween 3 is so different from the rest and all of that. So it's a good overview of all of that if you're curious.
Yeah, what was that called again?
In Praise of Shadows. Another video I'd recommend there is one where they talk about old horror book covers, like from the 70s, 80s, versus the ones today. I thought it was just I have a semi-graphic design background, so I was very interested in that and how they changed and shifted. And so if you're into art history, like contemporary art history or graphic design, I would suggest that video as well.
Alrighty.
Nice.
Anything else?
This was the recommended portion of the Cellcast.
In a
right?
sense, that's kind of what we've been watching is. Anything else you've been watching?
Me?
Yeah.
Probably, but I don't recall.
Okay.
So we'll go with that.
Jacob?
Well, Francisco, you did mention you were going through a John Carpenter phase of like watching his films. Well, oddly enough, I was going through a Ridley Scott, going through some of his film by pure accident. So
cool.
last week I watched The Martian, and that's a go. Oh my gosh,
really?
I love The Martian. It's so good.
Have you read
Oh
the book?
yes, I love it. It was so good. Because of my reading disorders, I primarily will listen to it and read it, and it's oh my gosh, so good. and then Ridley Scott, and then Matt Damon was just like, mwah, perfect. It was such such a good movie.
I did like that. Yeah.
And then recently, I was watching the director's cut of Legend.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Nice.
I love that movie. Is so underrated. You know, not granted, it is a cult classic now, but it's so good. And the funny part, if you're a movie buff, the fact that Ridley Scott accidentally burned down the James Bond stage.
Oh, I vaguely
Yes.
remember that now. Yes.
They took up the entire stage floor to build the forest, and for some reason, something caught and it burned the entire stage down.
Wow. See, this is why you film on location in a mystical forest.
Yeah, the only problem is they couldn't find anything they liked.
That's because they hadn't found their way down to New Zealand yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, good point.
Good point.
Because if there is a mystical forest somewhere in this world, it's probably in New Zealand.
That is true.
Yeah. Quick question? Does the director's cut for that? I haven't seen it. Does it have the Tangerine Dream?
No, it
soundtrack,
doesn't.
Or the
It has
okay,
it has the
it has more of the
original soundtrack,
okay,
and
cool.
it's good. Now, granted, you have the kind of a spoiler if you haven't seen Legend. If you haven't seen Legend, what are you doing? Go watch Legend. It's a good film.
I haven't seen it. Continue.
Okay. La-di-da-di-da. The main villain, Darkness, voiced and played by the amazing Tim Curry. It's just like phenomenal. Oh my gosh.
Yes. He is.
Yeah, just amazing. The apparently in the original, I think it was the American version, but like they show him first, and it's just like it blows the entire, because it's in the director's cut, you don't see him, you hear him. And you see his hand, and you see his shadow and everything. It's just like so menacing when you finally do see him. Be like, he literally comes through a mirror. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
That's weird. I don't think I've ever seen a version where that's not the case. So, maybe I just.
Well, I think
don't
the original theatrical version, it showed Darkness in the original theatrical cut early on. Because I remember watching that one first. Because I made that mistake of watching, I think it was the director's cut of Alien 3 or Alien 2 first. And everyone was like, what do? You got to watch the theatrical first. So I watched the theatrical first.
No, you don't. You can
You don't
watch
have to go by other people's rules.
I know.
I still want to go back
can
and
watch the
watch.
director's-
I still want to go back and watch every version of Blade Runner.
Oh my gosh. That's a good movie too.
But I've only seen the final cut. So
Yeah, that's a good
I
movie.
think that's all you need.
That's probably is all you need. But I actually do want to hear how bad the narration is of the theatrical
All right, that's fair.
version.
That's fair. That was the first version I saw with the narration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like the final cut version better.
Yeah, I love Ridley Scott. His brother, who sadly passed away. Tony Scott. Top Gun. Oh my gosh. Dun, dun. That days. I think it was. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that movie.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Please come quickly.
The
Top Gun Maverick?
The new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brother Jim. We formerly did the movie of the week podcast with. And Jim he had this theory for years, and it's to him it made sense, but it makes no sense. So the fact that he believed that Scott was he did not want to do another film with Tom Cruise, that he ended his own life. I'm like, what?
What?
Yeah, that's what he thought for years.
I
That
don't
Tony
think
Scott ended his
so.
life because he didn't want to walk with Tom Cruise, which is completely false.
That makes no
He
sense
didn't do
whatsoever.
any other movies with Tom Cruise. Like, that was the only one, and he made several movies after that without Tom
Yeah,
Cruise.
no,
So I
no,
don't
it
think
was
that
it was more because the idea of doing another Top Gun, that his idea that Tony Scott was I can't do anything else with Tom Cruise, so he tragically ended his life. It's like, no, the guy was dying from cancer, and plus they were already in like post production of working on Top Gun Maverick. Like years in production, years in talks and all that. So yeah, when my brother told me that, I'm like, no, that's not the way it worked.
Yeah.
But there again, that was the weird thing that someone told me. Yeah,
It stuck with you.
that stuck with me, and I was just like, no,
Shenanigans.
exactly, complete shenanigans. Yeah. So either way, PSA, be like, believe me, if you are suffering from suicide, please talk to somebody. Please, we beg of you, please talk to somebody. If you
Yeah,
are
please
dealing with
do.
suicidal
Indeed.
thoughts, please either A, go to someone that you trust, or B, you're a Christian, pray about it, and then go talk to a Christian leader or your pastor. Please, we beg of you, do not do anything.
Yeah.
And you can also call the National Suicide Prevention
Exactly.
Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-8255.
Excellent. Thank you, Francisco.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, that is all I've been watching. What have you been watching, Drew?
Well, I saw 3 movies last weekend.
Yes, I heard about this.
First off, I went and saw Venom: Let There Be Carnage. That was actually a fairly good film. It was not great, but it was fairly good. And I'll say, if you are keeping up with certain other franchises, you may at least want to go to see the after credits scene. That's all I'm going to say there.
Wink, nudge, like.
Also, of course, we watched The Addams Family 2
Two.
that we did a reaction episode on that we released earlier in the week. And then the very next day, I went and saw No Time to Die,
Oh,
the new James Bond movie.
da, da,
Oh,
da, da.
it is so good. If you've kept up with the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, you need to go see this if you're on the fence for some reason, because it is the perfect ending of this era.
2 years in the waiting.
Yeah, pretty much. This is the film they had to re-record all the product placement scenes because they were too old because of COVID.
Wow.
Wow.
The weirdest reason for pickup scenes I've ever heard.
Yes.
But, you know, I'll go with it.
Wow.
So yeah, I saw those, and then the only other thing I've really gotten around to watching is, you know, with the upcoming Netflix version of Cowboy Bebop, I thought I might want to go back and watch the original,
Yes.
since I've never watched it all the way through straight.
Yeah.
I've only caught what was originally showing on Cartoon Network back in the day, and only then, you know, when you catch something on TV, you can't, and you don't have a VCR where you can use it.
Record it.
Yeah.
Yo, back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day,
Yeah.
I didn't have that capability at the time because I didn't have a VCR in my room. But I've got the Blu-ray, and I'm going back through it right now because I want to watch. I need to watch the whole thing anyway.
Yeah, it's good.
Because I've just never seen every episode in the order it's supposed to occur in.
Right.
And I want to do that before the new trailer comes out. Plus, of course, I've been watching Marvel's What If, which has been good, and Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2, which we intended to cover
Yes.
on Animated Series, but life did not work out that way.
Nope.
We will come back. We'll get to it eventually. But
Don't worry, Drew. I've been told life finds a way.
yes, life
so-
does.
Yo, my
Life
gosh.
does find a way. But we are going to start re-releasing the Tangled Season 2 episodes again soon,
Oh, okay.
shortly. So keep an eye out for that. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so I did want to bring this because I was thinking about this earlier. It's another movie conundrum. So you were talking about life finds a way. So I started thinking about Jurassic World, primarily Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Now everybody,
I have
most
problems with
people,
the movie, but continue.
huh?
I have problems with the movie, but continue.
Yes, believe me, I have problems with it too. So I have severe problems with this film. You have the fact you're like, okay, it's basically like they copy what they did in Lost World a little bit, like the basic
Really?
beats of the movie,
Kind of.
kind of. Let's rip some of it off.
Well, I guess I can kind of see that.
I don't
All
know
right,
why
fair.
you would,
Yeah.
to be honest. Because Lost World is not that good a movie.
Eh,
Oh, come on.
I mean, it's not
That's-
as bad as Jurassic Park 3.
The high top with the trailers gonna go off the cliff. That's amazing.
In my defense, I'm not a fan of Jeff Goldblum. However,
fair. But the point I want to get to, because I started digging into this and it drove me nuts. So watching this film, so the dinosaurs are all trapped in this pen and this gas is released. And they're like, it's like, if we don't get them out of here in time, we got to release them, otherwise they're going to die or something like that. And our little spoiler alert for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, if you have not watched it yet, the little girl, she's actually a clone, and she feels sympathy for the dinosaurs. She lets them go. The only problem is all those dinosaurs should be deader than doornails at this second. And here's why. Because
they breathed in too much of the gas.
Yeah, because the gas they described, I actually looked it up. For a full-grown adult male, it will kill in 2 minutes.
But these are dinosaurs. They're much bigger than adult males.
Yes, but it's known for killing large animals within 3 minutes. Or at least they don't kill them. You're going to have severe lung, heart, brain, vision, skin, everything. Basically, it's going to rack your body.
What if the super theme parkified versions of these dinosaurs have a very good immune system?
Yeah,
and it takes longer to like.
They were in there for 10 minutes.
Fight this gas and.
Yeah.
See,
there's,
what you
and
guys
there's
don't
5
realize,
other problems with the movie that are worse than that.
Yeah,
so.
agreed.
what you guys don't realize is dinosaurs are extinct, so all those dinosaurs are of the undead. Much like this movie.
Undead dinosaurs.
Undead dinosaurs. Okay.
Good night. Why is that not an actual movie?
So the reason I bring that up, I'm more curious how are they going to deal with that issue, plus the girl letting these dinosaurs loose onto the world, who dinosaurs would never be didn't roam this world for another 10,000 years or something like that.
Dude, I have
or
the answer.
Depends on how your viewpoint is.
I have the answer for you.
Movie?
Get King Kong off of Skull Island. He can take him out.
That is true.
He stood toe to toe with Godzilla twice.
That is true.
He can take care of a couple of dinosaurs that are small enough
that
to
is
pick
true.
him up and use them as back scratchers.
Yeah, my question would be, going back to the movie at hand, how in Jurassic World Domination, I believe it's the new one.
I don't know. I'm
I'm
barely paying
mistaken.
attention to Jurassic World right now.
So in the sequel, in the third one, it's how are they going to if they deal with it at all? Because I guarantee it's we got to save the dinosaurs. Where's Blue? And then we're doing a cameo from the original actors, the original characters. What, are they going to be there for 3 seconds?
You know where Blue is? Leaving clues.
Oh my gosh.
I would pay to see a Blue's Clues with that Velociraptor as Blue.
I want to break in real quick and say this doesn't have to do with Fallen Kingdom, but anyone who is a fan of the original Jurassic World or just likes the Jurassic Park mythos, another really good show on Netflix is called Camp Cretaceous.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
Which is essentially this camp of kids and it's an all CG animated TV series or Netflix series. It takes place during the events of the original Jurassic World.
Yeah.
So they're on the other side of the island while things are going crazy in the main park, and there are all these sort of touch points of overlap with if I saw the movie, this is when that's happening.
That's nice.
This is happening. So it's a good series, man. My kids also like that one as well. So if you're a Jurassic Park fan, the first couple episodes are you're getting to know all the characters. All right. But after you get into it and know who everyone is, it's a fun show. I'd say a little kiddier than Troll Hunters, but it's still, I think, worth your time.
All
right, good deal. So now we got that rabbit trail chased.
What do we got in the news?
All right, so news-wise. All right, so we've talked about this on the show before. Clifford the Big Red Dog, the live-action movie, is coming out. Yes, it has a new release date of November 10th. They've released a new trailer, which is very funny. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. So we have that, which we plan on doing a review of that. We've
talked about
it. So yeah, there's the plans of doing that. So Disney Plus. This one was oh my gosh, when will this Frozen train ever end?
We just let it go and move on.
Apparently not. All right, so Disney Plus and
also, I'd like to point out your mean bringing up Frozen while Francisco's on, but anyway.
So Disney Plus and the Walt Disney Animation Studio unveiled the trailer for the new series of shorts starring Olaf from Frozen as he recreates moments from the Walt Disney animated classics such as The Little Mermaid, Mulan, The Lion King, Aladdin, and Tangled.
I have a better idea than using Olaf for this. Stitch.
Yes.
I have a better idea. John Carpenter.
That would be actually no.
Halloween versions.
I want the guy from Ant-Man. I can't think of his name. Luis.
Oh,
Luis. I want
Luis. Yes,
doing it.
Luis.
Oh, Louise, that'd be amazing. Like he retells
Yes.
the story.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so great. Oh, please.
Oh my
That
god.
could
give
be just a
Disney some money
YouTube
for that.
channel of him just retelling any movie. I would watch it.
Yes.
So good. Oh, I would love
That actor could make a buttload of money doing that.
Agreed.
Yeah, Michael Pena.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
is
Michael
his-
Pena. Thank you. All right, so if you're interested in that short, it will be available for those who have subscriptions to Disney Plus on November 12th. So this one, I really enjoyed when I saw this one. The War for Eternity continues in the second part of Masters of the Universe Revelation, which is like, how my childhood.
But
Sorry,
did
I get excited about
but
Masters of
did
the
you
Universe.
finish the first season?
Huh?
Did you finish the first season? Is my
The
question.
first half of the first season.
Okay. I haven't watched it. I don't know.
So not to, if you have not watched Masters of the Universe Revelation, I know it's a hot button issue with a lot of people. I know that, but I actually really enjoyed it. But there again, if you haven't watched it and you're listening to like everybody's negativity about the show, like we always say, watch it and grasp your own opinion about what you're watching.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Have context of what you're talking about, because some people just go off on extremely stupid tangents about nothing.
Well, the internet runs on
I
hate.
never do that.
I agree.
Have you heard of Monty Python and the Holy?
Yes, yes, we've heard this. See, I was going to just slide right past that, just saying that the internet runs on hate. But
Yeah, agreed. So,
That's true.
Not to spoil, because if I read this out loud, it'll spoil the very end of the first part of the first
so
episode.
you're saying just go watch Attorney and get ready for season 2.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
If you are interested, it will debut on November 23rd. So yeah, I'm definitely watching it, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. How do they bring back this character?
I'm glad to hear. I've heard you and another person that watched it and really enjoyed it. I have no interest to see it,
Fair.
but I'm glad that it is finding an
Yeah.
audience. That's totally.
I'm
valid.
always glad when a show finds an audience, because I don't care about He-Man at all, because I didn't grow up with He-Man, but I'm glad people enjoy it. So, yeah.
Yeah, because there's such a, like, two different camps. There's people that love it. They love this adaptation of it because it's it's supposed to be a continuation of the 1980s show. Mm-hmm. And then there's that absolutely love it. I'm on that camp. I love this show to death. It was so great, character wise, story. The ending cliffhanger was like, but why did you have to make that character into the first thing you purchased as a toy? I was like, what were you thinking, Mattel? If you don't know what I'm talking about,
So
go look it up.
You're getting close to spoiler territory,
Yes,
so we
I
might
am.
want to move on.
Yes, either way. So, and
I
then
don't even know what we're talking about, but I can tell
no,
it's spoilers.
that's the reason I'm not saying what it is. But then you have the other side who just like hate everything about it. But yeah, just go watch it, make your own opinion, and yeah, let us know what you think of He-Man, our Masters of the Universe Revelations, and part 2 will come shortly. So yeah, all right. So going into my last bit of news. If my pad will stop scrolling, because it likes to do that for some reason.
It's called your fingers resting on it.
No, this pad has a mind of its own, like it's possessed.
Well, it is an old pad.
That is true.
Anyway, continue.
Either ways, all right. So G Kids has acquired the distribution rights of apparently a film I've never heard of, but it's called Belle.
Oh, I saw an article on this. It's from the guy who did Summer Wars and Digimon.
Oh my gosh! Yes, I'm definitely watching it now.
What is his name? I'm feeling bad now. Mamoru Hosoda?
Something like that.
I think it's that. I think that's it.
Yeah. So, yeah, apparently this movie, it's called Belle. It's an adaptation of Beauty and the Beast. And it will debut They've just released 2 trailers, and on January 14th, 2022, it will release in theaters. So I saw like a still frame of it, and I was like, wow, that looks really good. And when you said who the director was, I was like, oh my gosh.
If it's the movie I'm thinking of,
Yeah, it's Bell.
I think it is.
So yeah. So if you're interested in that, it's coming to theaters in January 14th of next year. So yeah.
So it's an anime version because G Kids is usually anime.
Yeah, it's anime.
Well, G Kids does a lot of different foreign animation stuff. The stuff they're most known for is anime because they currently have the Ghibli license, and they have some other anime stuff that sells well. But I've seen them advertise like French stuff sometimes and things of that nature. So,
Yep, that's all I got in the news.
all right. Well, then we need to jump into the spoiler-free section of our review for what movie are we doing? Vampire Hunter D.
Yes.
This has been a long conversation. Almost forgot what we were supposed to be here talking about.
Titanic.
Yes,
I thought we-
Titanic.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Titanic.
Anyway, Francisco, what are your spoiler-free thoughts on Vampire Hunter D? Not Bloodlust.
Not Bloodlust, the original,
Yes.
1985.
Yes.
I really, I think this is a very unique world, a very unique take on vampire lore, and so I think if you're into vampire lore or stories with vampires, this is probably worth your time. That's my spoiler-free reaction.
Okay. Jacob?
Blah, 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 blah.
We already talked about this.
I just had to bring it up because it's a vampire movie. Okay. No, I really enjoyed this movie. It's very much a product of its time, 1980s. So it's an anime action film, has every blood, gore, swearing, nudity, everything in it. That it was the 1980s, and they just did that all the time. It's very much a product of its time. It's good. It's got a good story. It's got a nice reveal at the end. I was like, whoa, okay, they went there. I was like, wow, okay, that's cool. We'll talk about that later in our spoiler section. But just be like, great story. It's got a few problems here and there, but overall, really good film.
You're not going to bring up the issue that we did run into? Or you may have run
Oh,
into?
yeah, that's right.
I had to warn you about?
Yes. If you do have issues with epilepsy, like I do because I have Tourette's disorder. So this movie does have a lot of flashing lights and strobing lights. So there were points during the movie I'm literally covering my eyes because Drew pointed out, which I'm very grateful for my brother to point that out, because otherwise I would probably be sitting on my couch twitching and barking and just it's like, why didn't Drew warn me about this?
In many ways, I still feel guilty about Spider-Man.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
Into the Dark, or not Into the Dark? Play.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse.
I did not think about the opening logo.
The intro.
That
Oh my gosh.
effect. I didn't think about that affecting his epilepsy, even though
Gotcha.
I knew he suffered from it because it came up when we were watching Incredibles 2, which was before we even were talking about the show.
Yes.
So, anyway.
But yes, if you do have if you're prone to have epilepsy, a strong warning that towards the latter part of the film, there's a lot of strobing lights. There's a lot of flashing lights. It may cause your epilepsy to be triggered. So there's a fair warning there. And plus, there's a bit of nudity in this film. So if you're more sensitive to female nudity primarily, probably you want to stay clear of it.
In fact, I think we're safe
it's definitely
to say
not
this is
family friendly. Let's just say that.
Exactly.
All right, so get all that advisory warnings. Be like, warning, these things happen in this film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's no smoking, right?
No, there's no smoking. I don't think so.
I'm actually trying to think because
that's
I could see maybe one of the villagers doing this.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't.
I don't
I don't
remember.
either.
It was not prominent. My spoiler-free thoughts. This was the first time, of course, I'd seen the movie.
Same here.
I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. This is already sounding bad for me. I'm sorry.
Dun, dun, dun.
I didn't.
I enjoyed
Yeah.
it.
I'm sure to everyone else this is like listening to Francisco saying he likes the movies and then goes and bashes it for half an hour. But no, I did enjoy the movie. It's not really in my vein of stuff I normally like because I'm, like I said earlier, I'm not a big horror guy. This is got more thriller elements, which lets me get in there, and I do kind of like vampire stories and that concept and everything. But I think the thing I most appreciated about it is the artwork, which I'll get into some more, considering who the artist who most of the art is based on. But the story I thought was good. It's if you're looking for a good anime movie to watch this Halloween season, and you're not watching it with young kids or parents you don't want to think are judging, you don't want to judge you, go watch Vampire Hunter D. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
And then Bloodlust after that.
Probably. I hadn't watched that one yet.
And to quote a character from a movie we recently did, The Croods, dun dun dun.
Dun dun.
Bye.
You don't even get what I just did, but we'll move on.
Color me confused.
It goes back to that Muppets Haunted Mansion we watched and just released the reaction for like an hour before we started recording the show.
Okay, I gotcha.
But anyway,
Oh yeah.
yeah, now you remember.
Now I remember.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
It's like, what is he talking about?
Anyway, join us on the other side of the bumpers, and we'll get to spoiling this thing. Don't forget that you can download. Don't forget that you can. Don't forget that you can listen to us record the podcast live every Tuesday over on our Facebook page, The Cellcast, our Twitch channel, The Cellcast Gaming, and on YouTube at Cellcast. Also, don't forget to join our Patreon if you would like to support us monetarily. At $1, you'll get our everlasting thanks. At our $5 tier, you can get some artwork from Jacob. And on our $10 tier, you can get bloopers for every episode we've released that I've remembered to release them for. And you can get commentaries from different movies. So come check us out over there if you would like to support us financially. Every other week, join the Retro Rewind Pod as they travel back 15 or more years along the entertainment space-time continuum in their mission to review movies and games, establishing what is still worth your time today. Expect fun banter and trivial insights from Francisco and Paul, the Master Interrupter Powers, and rotating guest hosts who are all out of time. Do you like Star Wars? I don't just mean the original trilogy. Along with that, I mean the prequels, the sequels, the anthologies, the animated shows, and of course, who doesn't like Baby Yoda? Well, if you've been in the fandom for any length of time, you know how toxic the fandom can get. And if you'd like to be able to discuss a galaxy far, far away in a much more positive light, might I suggest searching out The Outer Rim, a Facebook group dedicated to all of Star Wars, and check out their YouTube channel, which you can easily find at Pop Americana, which the podcast you're currently listening to is also a part of. To find that and more, check out the link in the description. The following is a spoiler-filled review for the movie Vampire Hunter D. Listener discretion is advised.
I've been spoiled.
Vampire Hunter D was directed by Toyo Ashihida, who is most famous for directing the series Fist of the North Star. It was also written by Yasushi Hirano, who wrote many of the episodes of the TV series Ultraman over there in Japan. It is based on the light novel by Hideyuki Kikuchi, who also wrote Wicked City, and the illustrator on those books was Yoshitaka Amano, who was the primary art designer for Final Fantasies 1 through 6, and is still doing the logos for every Final Fantasy game that comes out.
Wow.
And you can tell when you look at the cover of this Blu-ray that that's who it is. Getting into the cast for the Sentai Filmworks English dub of this film, D was voiced by John Gramillion, who voiced Seal in Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Whoop whoop.
D's left hand was voiced by Ray Jinsei. Sorry, was voiced by Andy McGavin, who voiced the character of Kimura in Azumanga Daioh, one of my favorite shows. Doris Lang was voiced by Lucy Christian, who voiced Ochako Uraraka and Recovery Girl in My Hero Academia. Count Magnus Lee and Mayor Roman was both voiced by David Wald, who voiced Tetsu in My Hero Academia. Dan Lang was voiced by Shannon Emmerich, and he also voiced Finn. I'm not sure I'm saying this right, but Finn Daimone in Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon?
Oh, gosh.
I think it is.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I'm just going to throw my 2 cents there. Greco-Roman was voiced by Jay Hickman, who voiced Kotaro Onodera in Full Metal Panic. Countess Lamika Lee was voiced by Brittany Karbowski, who voiced Wendy Marvell in Fairy Tale. Dr. Faringo was voiced by John Swasey, and he is the voice of Gendo Ikari in Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Okay.
That just explained a lot to you, didn't it?
It did. I was like, oh my gosh. Psychopath.
All 3 Lamia, the Snake Women, were voiced by Tiffany Grant, and she's the voice of Asuka Langley in Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Seriously?
Yes.
Oh, wow. She played Asuka.
I knew you'd appreciate that.
Uh-huh.
Sheriff Danton, the Messenger, and Chula were voiced by Mark Laskowski, and he played the character Iwata in Quack Experimental Anime Excel Saga.
What?
Excel Saga.
Oh, okay.
But the full name of it is Quack Experimental Anime Excel Saga.
Quack.
You don't believe me? It's right there. I have a copy.
Okay, I'll believe you.
Okay. Getting into the Kingdom Hearts connections right quick, Kirk Thornton was the Danton and the Innkeeper in Anne Lee's Messenger in the Streamline dub, and in Kingdom Hearts, he is Issa and Sax, and he's also the voice of Shadow the Hedgehog in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Huh.
Now that I'm allowed to bring that in.
Yes, you are.
And Kaneto Shiozawa was the voice of D in the Japanese version, and he's the voice of Gray Fox in the Japanese version of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Oh.
What do we got in info and stuff?
All right, so you are available to watch Vampire Hunter D. As far as I understand, you can watch it on Amazon Prime Video. You can.
Nope,
You can?
I couldn't.
Okay, where did you watch it?
High Dive, HIDIV.
The High Dive was the only streaming service I saw that had it,
Oh, okay, because I couldn't find anything
which
where you
is
could
Sentai
stream.
Filmworks' streaming service.
That makes sense. Okay, let's go watch it on High Dive. If you're able to watch it on High Dive. Thank you, Francisca. I did not know that. All right,
Sure,
so
can you not even rent it on Amazon?
no,
Not that I could see.
Oh.
not good.
Okay.
I'm sure you could buy. I think you could buy the Blu-ray or whatever, but
Well,
not.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that's where I bought the Blu-ray.
Yeah, you can't
but-
stream it on Amazon. All right, so IMDb, it has a 7.2 out of 10. Production was Epic, Sony Records, Movic, CBS, Sony Pictures, Asha Productions, and it was distributed by Toei. And it was distributed by in the U.S. by who was it?
Well, originally by Streamline
Yeah.
Pictures, and then it's now being distributed by Sentai Filmworks.
Yes. All right. So it was originally released in Japan on December 21st, 1985, and then its U.S. dub was released March 26th, 1992. All right, so I could not find any box office information on this film whatsoever. But home release, Vampire Hunter D was released theatrically in Japan on, like I said before, December 21st, 1985. It was distributed by Toei. It was released on Laserdisc by CBS Sony Group Inc. It's the same date. A English dub was released in 1993 by Streamline, as Drew said. It was shown in theaters August of that year. It was released on VHS on March 29th, 26th of 1993. It was released on VHS. Now, granted, some people are like, "What's a VHS?" Go look it up.
VHS is not the most obscure format.
No,
we've had
it's
on
not.
the show.
Be like,
What's a beta?
yeah, what's a beta? What's a laser disc?
No, better yet. What is was it the CED?
Yeah, CED.
The capacitance disc?
Yeah, he had to explain that to me. I had no idea what he was talking about.
And the only reason I know of it is because
RCA
I
thing?
of a YouTube channel I watch called Technology Connections.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. It was released throughout the 90s. It was released on a VHS. Let's see. It was played significantly on TBS, Cartoon Network, and the Sci-Fi Channel, also now known as Sci-Fi. Why did they shorten the Sci-Fi? It makes no sense. What? Just call it the Sci-Fi Channel. That's
Technically, it is still called Sci-Fi. We've jokingly called it Sci-Fi.
Yeah. But either way. Let's see. Going through there in 2000, Urban produced and distributed Vampire Hunter D, the Bloodlines, the re-release of the OVA Special Edition, which is basically the sequel to that, Vampire Hunter D. Let's see. It was released DVD October 17th. Contained the original Japanese audio with Dolby Digital 5.1 mix with the streamlined dub. Special edition DVD was released by Mega Entertainment in the UK in 2004. Let's see. Madhouse re-released it in July 2014. On April 16th, 2015, Sentai Filmworks announced they licensed the film for North America and for digital home release. The film was re-released on Blu-ray and DVD on August 25th, 2015, with a new English dub. And like I said before, its sequel is Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. So that's all I have for info and stuff.
All right. Now to get into our summary. While walking her guard rounds in the country, Doris Lang, the orphan daughter of a deceased werewolf hunter, is attacked and bitten by Count Magnus Lee, a 10,000-year-old long-lost vampire lord, also known as a noble, for trespassing in his domain. Doris later encounters a mysterious vampire hunter known only as D, and hires him to kill Count Lee to save her from becoming a vampire, as she is infected with Count Lee's bite. While in town with Dan, her younger brother, and D, Doris is confronted by Greco-Roman, the mayor's son, about the Count's attack, and D promises to help her if he has Doris for himself. When Doris refuses, Greco reveals what happened to the entire town, including Dan. D requests that the authorities, including Greco's father, the town sheriff, and Dr. Faringo, should hold off Doris's incarceration at the local asylum until he kills Count Lee, which will cure Doris's vampire infection. That night, Doris's farm is attacked by Ray Ginsei, Count Lee's servant, and Lamika, Count Lee's daughter, who is highly prejudiced against humans and Dhamphirs. D is able to easily resist Ray, but before he can finish Ray off, Ray reveals he has the ability to twist space around him and is able to redirect D's death blow onto D before Ray can finish him off. D reveals he has recovered from the redirected attack in seconds, revealing he is a Dhamphir, and after easily reflecting Lamika's attacks, orders both of them to leave with a warning to Count Lee. The next day, D travels to Count Lee's castle and attempts to confront the Count. Aided by the symbiont in his left hand, D holds his own against the Count's monstrous minions, including Ray and his companions Gimlet, Golem, and Chula. While in the castle's catacombs, however, he is ensnared and captured by the snake women of Midwich. Doris is then kidnapped by Ray and brought to the Count. Using his vampiric powers, Dee kills the snake women, after a long period of time, rescues Doris before she can be killed by Lamika, and escapes the castle. In town, Greco overhears a meeting between Ray and the messenger from Count Lee, who gives the former a candle with time-bewitching incense, a substance powerful enough to weaken anyone with vampire blood in their veins. Dee is taken hostage by Ray to lure Dee out into the open, and Dee comes to his rescue, cutting off Ray's hand in the process and discovering that the candle is a fake. Meanwhile, Dr. Ferengo, himself a vampire now, in league with Count Lee, leads Doris into a trap, but is confronted and killed by Lamika when he begins requesting to share Doris with the Count. Greco, who stole the candle from Ray, then appears, using the time-bewitching incense to severely weaken Lamika and causes Doris pain, likely due to her own infection, but is shot by Dan and falls down a cliff. Afterwards, Doris, who has now fallen for Dee, tries to convince him to live with her and embraces him. This starts to trigger Dee's vampire side, but unwilling to buy her, he forces her away from him. The next morning, Greco is confronted and killed by Ray, who uses the real candle to weaken Dee, allowing him to mortally wound the vampire hunter with a wooden stake. Doris is then captured and taken back to the castle. Lamika tries to persuade her father not to allow a human into the family, but Lee reveals that there is no harm in doing so, as Lamika's own mother was a human!
Da, da, da.
Making her a Dhampir instead of a full-blooded vampire, and Lamika is restrained by Count Lee when she becomes hysterical at the revelation. Ray requests that the Count give him eternal life as a member of the nobility, but he is coldly rebuffed for his past failures, leaving Ray in a rage. As a mutant attempts to devour Dee's comatose body, his left hand revives him just in time for him to kill the monster. As the processional for the Count and Doris's wedding takes place, Dan, having infiltrated the Count's castle, attempts to attack Lee, but is repelled by Lee and falls into a chasm before being saved by Ray, who has switched sides. In retaliation for not fulfilling his request, Ray confronts and attempts to weaken the Count with the time-bewitching incense. However, Lee, who is too powerful to be overpowered by the incense, destroys the candle with his telekinetic abilities, then kills Ray with the same powers, before Doris can be bitten by the Count. Dee appears and engages in battle with Lee. Dee's attacks are futile due to Lee's psychic and telekinetic abilities, and almost kills Dee before Dee unleashes his own telekinetic abilities and breaks from Lee's telekinetic hold and succeeds in fatally stabbing the noble in the heart with his sword, while Lee manages to seriously wound Dee with a dagger. A weakened Lee attempts to influence Doris into killing Dee, but she is broken out of the trance by Dan, who arrives with Lamika. With Lee dying, his castle begins crumbling, and Lee, while lamenting his defeat and looking at a picture of the first vampire, Count Dracula, notices Dee is Count Dracula's child, and therefore the son of the legendary ancestral god of vampires, to both Dee and Lamika's astonishment. Dee attempts to persuade Lamika into living as a human, but she chooses to die as a member of the nobility with her father and stays in the castle as it collapses, killing both Lee and then Lamika off-screen. Dee, Doris, and Dan escape the collapsing castle. Dee then sets off under a now clear blue sky. Doris, now recovered from her bite, and Dan bid Dee goodbye as he looks back briefly to them and smiles. Hideyuki Kikuchi, the writer of the Vampire Hunter D novels that the movie's based on, uses more of the Hammer horror universe of Dracula stories as his basis for storytelling than the original Dracula novel written by Bram Stoker. In the original novel, Dracula was more of a magical being who was able to walk around in daylight, could shapeshift into multiple forms, and could use hypnosis as a means of distant communication between himself and his victims. There are also more of an emphasis on natural elements being the tools to fight him off. That included garlic, rose stems, communion wafers, mirrors, blah, blah, blah. And while Universal Pictures subtly changed and added to many of these elements with their own Dracula movies in 1931, it was actually the Hammer Horror Studios that nonchalantly refined and created the more commonly known and popular rules that future vampires films adhere to, with crosses, frightening, paralyzing, and burning vampires. Holy water burns a vampire like acid, so on and so forth. Sunlight turns any part of the vampire, hits into dust. If a vampire falls into... Okay, I'm going to skip ahead here a little, because it goes into really deep stuff here. The rules and negotiations have all appeared in many Vampire Hunter D novels at some point or another, and so can then assume that the main protagonist in the Vampire Hunter franchise, D, is actually the descendant of the Dracula played by Christopher Lee, and not the Dracula from the original novel, played by Bela Lugosi. And if you couldn't tell, Magnus Lee is actually based off of the look of Christopher Lee.
Makes sense.
I couldn't.
I couldn't really tell that either, but after seeing that, I can kind of see it. But mostly he just looks like a disinterested father who kind of was just helping his daughter out and got turned into a vampire in the process. That's what it looked like to me anyway.
Sure, I could see
And the film takes place in 12,090 is the year it takes place in.
Oh.
So,
that. A good wine from
yes.
that year.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Francisco, what's your first like for this?
Oh, so my first like for Vampire Hunter D is I sort of made mention of this in the spoiler-free reaction, but I thought the idea of this future dystopian, like 12,090, like so far in the future, and mixed with sort of gothic horror elements, and like you couple that with like mutants and rifles and still like old timey swords and stakes and amulets. I thought just the melding of this seemed to work. It seems like all that would just be too wild and too much like trying to squeeze into a universe, but the way they did this, I felt like it really worked. There's so much that was just sort of just D's going into this cavern in the castle. He has a item for that, a trinket for that. This mutant. D got this mutant. Oh no, he can warp time around himself. Just I don't know. It just all seemed to work, even though on the face of it, it's really zany. But I really enjoyed this world, and that there's a lot they could still do with it. And it sounds like, I think one of you mentioned that the manga is still in production, still creating new episodes,
light novel
new
is, yeah.
issues. Oh, the light novel. So, I really enjoyed the world of D.
Jacob, your first like?
All right, my first like would be the plot. The idea that this plot, it doesn't have any real. It's like, oh, we got all this filler. We're gonna go to the backstory of all these characters. No, it's a very straightforward story. It's very. It's not. It's very. It's straightforward. It's nonsensical. It's sensical. It doesn't. There's not enough. There's not enough fluff. There's no. Extra extending tentacles that just tell all the story and try to bring it into one. It's very linear. There's no side story. There's no side stories. There's no nothing. It's just straightforward. We're telling this story, and I just really enjoyed the storytelling in this movie. It like most movies, it's trying to tell so many things in so much time. It's trying to give you all the backstory to everybody. And a certain limited time, and sometimes movies get hang up on this. This movie does.
A lot of times, anime movies get
a
hung up
lot of
on
anime
this.
movies do that.
Yeah.
The main one that's coming across my mind is when we did My Hero Academia 2 Heroes.
Yeah.
And they tried to bring in all 30 members of the class.
Yeah.
And half of them didn't need to be there for the story.
Agreed.
Oh wow.
So
Agreed. Yeah, just the movie. It goes straightforward. It tells you the information you need to know, and leaves everything the mystery until the very end. And which is like I was like, going into, obviously we're in the spoiler section, the fact that they revealed that D is the offspring of Count Dracula. I'm like, wow, okay, that was cool, because if you were to tell like a modern story, they would go back to Dracula's time and tell you like when he was conceived and who his mother was, and they would spoil the entire ending of the film before you get 5 minutes into the film. But this movie keeps like everything nice and straight. Be like it tells you it's okay. Here's story, and it just keeps going. I love that story form of storytelling. It's not we're going off in the different branches and trying to tell this vast story. It's like, no, we're just going straight forward, going for the jugular, pun intended. Just it's a very well executed story, and I just really enjoy it.
kind of building off of that, off both of what y'all said, mine is the implied lore.
Yes,
for
agreed.
this. Because
Agreed.
Yeah.
this is telling essentially a story about Dee saving Doris and
Yes.
all the trouble he's going through for this. And it's set with implying that there is all this lore that's happened over the course of 12,000 years or so, going all the way back to the original Dracula. You need to know that that is going on, but you don't need, that's not important for the story.
Yes.
Because the story this one's telling is not the story of Vampire Hunter D. It's the story of this one of Vampire Hunter D's adventures.
Exactly.
Obviously setting up for the rest of the novels, I would assume. And I'm really hoping that some of that stuff in the novels is explained slowly over the course of it and not just crammed all into one story, which is usually what I'm afraid of, especially with some of this stuff. But yeah, I really appreciate the fact that there's obviously lore in this universe that it's based on. And yeah, there's a few things I wonder if it's necessary for this story. Like the fact that they do have ray guns and you got cyborg horses. I think you could have told the same story in like a medieval setting and it would be the same story. But obviously this is a smaller story, a part of a larger story. And that's the part I appreciate.
You know what sort of just dawned on me? I don't know why I didn't sort of think of this before, but we were talking about earlier about what genre this fits in. Is it horror? Is it thriller? This is actually a Western.
Yeah,
this is
it
such
is.
a
It is
Western
so much of a Western.
film. Yeah, a lone hero comes into town, saves a girl or a family from this menacing overlord, essentially, or warlord, or what have you. Yeah, it's just totally a Western, which is probably why I like it so much, because I typically enjoy Westerns.
So it's
So-
a
Gotcha.
horror sci-fi Western.
Yes.
Pretty much.
The best kind of movie.
Francisco, what's your second like? Outside of it being a horror Western sci-fi.
So this takes Jacobs and sort of goes to a very micro level of it. I really enjoyed how Dee is faced when Doris is taken and Dee has to infiltrate the castle. Just all the little vignettes of he has to get through this guy flying with these blades, and then he has to go across the bridge by jumping with his horse. He has to get past the giant guy with the big fireball, and he has to get through the tunnel with all the like crazy bugs and all this stuff, and then he has to overcome the wolf guy and the witch, and then fall down. Just all these different challenges he has to go through. I really enjoy when a hero is faced with all these things, and you just see now he knows what to do here, and it just shows his skill level. And it's like, what's he gonna do now? He's obviously skilled in the last thing, but now what is he gonna do? It just and he takes damage, and it's not like he can just take everything. And then he ends up with the snake women of Midwich, and you're like, oh well, now he's toast. I mean, they're just gonna drain him forever. But then he overcomes that. I really enjoyed that, and then escaping the castle and how he has to think on his feet. Now he's like, okay, well, he got through all that, but now he has to carry Doris, and now it seems like the challenge and the stakes keep getting up to there. And I really just enjoyed those sequences of getting into the castle and getting out of the castle. That is just the best part of the movie for me.
Awesome.
Okay, mine would be Dee's left hand. I was just more like,
That's such an interesting concept.
I agree. I was there again, be like having really no understanding of Vampire Hunter D or who D was or a character. I think I see like clips of it, but his little left hand was like the comedic timing, perfect timing. It was like creepy at the first time. It's like, whoa, okay. This is like, what's his name from Inuyasha with his void hand.
Oh, the priest.
The priest, yeah.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah, it's just, the lecherous monk.
Aren't they all in
true.
anime?
It's true. But either way, be like, the point where D is killed or he's stunned or whatever, and his hand gets chopped off. That whole scene is like the hands to be like, okay, come on. Like he eats dirt and then he gets to go back to D and he's like slapping D. It's like, wake up, man, we're gonna die, hurry up. In the last minute he wakes up and I'm like, okay, that was hilarious. I was like, okay, that's intriguing, but funny. Your left hand is telling you, wake up.
The only thing that would make that hand better is if you actually absorb the powers of wherever you sucked in. If D could have, like, for like a few minutes.
You want him to be
have
Mega Man?
Whatever it was. Yeah, exactly. Or Kirby. I'm thinking more
Oh,
Kirby.
okay.
Okay.
because-
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
I was thinking the hand with the weapon anyway.
Yeah.
My second is the fact that while the art is very simplified from what Yoshitaka Amano's art style usually is, it is still very obviously his art. His style is still preserved in the much more
Yes.
easier to animate artwork. Y'all know me. We've recorded 3 reviews on Final Fantasy movies
Agreed.
within 3 years, which is pretty fast, all things considered. I mean, we
Agreed.
haven't gotten that far with How to Train Your Dragon yet. We need to, or Kung Fu Panda, or any of these other ones we've done.
Yes.
But I powered us through 3 Final Fantasy movies, so obviously I'm a fan. And so much of Final Fantasy is based on that artwork that Yoshitaka Amano did, especially with the first 6 games. And of course, he still does the logos for all the games. And so I've seen a lot of his artwork in one form or another. And so I appreciate that his line work, while simplified to make it a lot easier to animate, it's still, his style is still there. You can still tell that these are characters that he styled. And so I appreciate that part of it. Because that doesn't always happen when you adapt a movie, even with anime. So,
Agreed.
yeah, that's my last
Okay, so the character I mentioned is Moroku, and every time I hear Moroku, all I hear is, hey, I'm getting slapped.
Okay. Oh, in Inuyasha.
Inuyasha, yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I
Thank
was
you,
completely
sorry.
confused. I'm like, I don't remember that in this movie.
Yeah,
But okay.
that was the dog boy demon anime that you're always messing with somebody about. I don't remember who. Anyway,
Cat ears, red
that
robe.
that
The
one.
cat
yeah,
ears red robed. He's
Yes.
a dog. He's a demon dog.
That's the joke. That's the joke.
Okay,
I don't
I'm not
remember
in the
who
loop.
I don't remember who you bring this up with. I just know where it's come up.
with Dallas.
I
from Deep
figured.
Devotion.
I had a feeling it was
Whenever
him.
he mentions
him and
some
that
anime,
that and
I don't know the
StarCraft.
title. Yeah, that and StarCraft, exactly. Yeah, but whenever he mentions an anime, that I'm like, I don't know what anime that is. I'm like, is that Cat Ears Red Robe?
Oh my god.
Anyway. Francisco, I know you like this movie a lot, but unfortunately we
Yeah.
do need a dislike from you. At least one.
Oh, that's easy. Yeah, I have plenty to dislike. This isn't Vampire and D Bloodlust. That's number 1. Number 2 is the grass going like this.
Oh, that drove
yes,
me nuts.
That was annoying.
Oh my gosh. And then when Doris is in the middle of it, it looks like she's in a whirlwind. I'm
Yeah.
like, but she's just walking fast forward.
Yeah, that was a weird effect. I almost wondered, did somebody screw up the transfer on this disc?
No, it used to be like that. I remember it. As
Okay.
Well. No, I don't think it's.
Then I will
But no.
question the people who animated that scene on their decisions.
Yeah, I think it was a budgetary thing. It's like we don't want to. It's just faster to have like planes going like this than.
Yeah,
which-
but you
and
normally
for those
only
listening, you'd have no idea what I'm doing. I'm passing my. Imagine taking I don't know, sheets of paper and just sliding them back and forth across each other to simulate motion forward.
right.
But,
But the problem is it's not motion forward. They're using sideways motion on
Yeah.
one in
Exactly.
one set, and then the forward and backwards motion on the other. It's like
exactly.
Uh-huh.
So
what kind of
It doesn't work.
what kind of weird non-Euclidean geometry are we dealing with here?
It's anime.
Yeah, that's true.
Animes though
my
usually better
real-
than this, even on the bad
My
stuff.
real first dislike is just I feel like the nudity for so the nudity for the snake women of Midwich I don't think is needed at all. You can definitely have them be temptresses without seeing any their breasts. The nudity with Doris I understand a little bit more because it's supposed to be this almost temptation that Dee has to overcome. I don't think us as an audience necessarily need to see it. I think you could show her from the back, and so it's obvious that Dee sees her. And so I'm rethinking that. In that way, you don't need it at all. for us as the audience to see nudity for this movie.
Okay.
And I think you could still get across all the things you're trying to get across without.
I completely I agree with you. I think from an artistic standpoint, it's not really, it's not in your face. It's not overly sexualized, and it's very much okay. It's there. It's not we're not glowering it over. You'd be like, oh, we're doing nudity. It's very much a natural part of the scene. And I enjoy that part, but I do understand your point.
I'm not saying it's not natural the way they show
Yeah.
it, but it could have been done more tastefully.
Okay.
Is the only way I'd put it. Best way I'd put it. I'm not saying they need to be wearing T-shirts or something like that.
Right. I'm not saying that. We gotta.
Yeah. I'm not saying this has got to be like 4 kids up and made and weird censorship in areas.
Yeah.
It's not gratuitous.
No,
It's not gratuitous. It's just
yeah.
I dislike it myself. I mean, this is actually part of my dislike, if I can jump in here.
Okay, go for it.
Because along with this and the other bits of fan service throughout the movie, namely the fact, like, every 5 seconds when Doris is doing something, you see a panty shot.
Yeah, that is true.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, like every shot.
Like, they like to shoot her from below the skirt. So you naturally can see the panty up there because the shirt's so short.
Oh.
Skirt is so short, if I can talk.
I did not realize. Okay. Apparently I'm oblivious to that.
But it's like constant. It's like after like the first scene, I quit paying attention to it. Not because it's not there, but because I'm too used to it by now. Because they're doing it so much. So I wish they wouldn't do stuff like that. And of course the nudity, I kind of wish they would leave out too, because it could be done in you could get the idea across, I think, in a much cleaner way and a much more you could do it with innuendo and it would not stand out. I know that in Japan, especially in the 80s, that was a different culture and they were a lot more open about this sort of thing.
Agreed. Agreed.
And they were not making it as an international film. They were making it as a domestic film for their culture. I understand that. Yeah. And so this is essentially a rated R film.
Yeah.
I get that. Don't get me wrong. I get that.
Yeah.
It's just, from an artistic point of view, I think maybe you could have done without it and it would not have affected the story in a negative way. That's mostly my thought there. So it's mostly a preference.
Like, playing devil's advocate with this point. Now, granted, I don't really... The idea of like, oh, let's just use nudity for nudity's sake because, oh, it's the 80s because that's what the 80s did. Like, using nudity just because, like, the shock factor, it's like, okay, that's what you want to do. That's fine. I disagree with it. Artistically, it's done very well. It's done in very good taste because it's not, oh, here's this woman without a shirt on. Or using different kind of like using non-realistic dynamics of doing a certain move or something like that. Just like how you do not like now everything's like showy and just over exaggerated, bombastic and everything. This is very much it's okay. It's here. We're using it within the context of what's going on. The temptation of the D. Like that makes sense. So I completely agree with your points, guys. Completely. Just the artistically, it's okay. I understand why they did it. A, it was the error, and B, it's not in your face. But I see both sides of it.
Yeah,
totally get it.
Yeah, I guess I'll just cap my thoughts by saying that's totally a preferential thing. I know some people aren't affected by, or that doesn't matter to them, and that's totally fine. That's more how they see movies. This is just like, I'm here giving you my 2 cents, so this is not me saying, we need to change this movie. How dare they show me that? This is just me sharing my preference. That's all.
Change.org. We need to change Vampire Hunter D.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
No, don't do that.
I need to make a Kickstarter
to make an unofficial censorship of Vampire Hunter D. We're gonna make her skirt longer, and we're gonna put an Ariel style shell bra on the snake ladies.
Oh my gosh.
Why aren't I funded yet? Yeah.
Jacob, did you have a dislike?
Yes, I did.
That's you played devil's advocate to mine and Francisco's points.
Okay, so mine is this first one's very much a nitpick, definitely with the editing in this film. There's a scene where Doris,
Doris.
thank you, it's Doris. Doris and Dee are talking, and she's trying to convince him don't go. And it's like the scene's great, and then automatically just it does this quick cut to where he's riding his mechanical horse off of the sunset. I'm like, what in the world was this? I was so, because the editing in this film was very well done, except for like one or two scenes where it's all these little quick cuts, or it's like it doesn't show Dee walking out the door. It's like they're talking almost like mid sentence. It goes, nope, he's gone. He's like, Doris is talking to him, and Dee just walks out the door. It's like, Dee, I was telling you don't leave. Why are you leaving? It's like,
Because he's mysterious.
yeah,
He's the mysterious stranger
that wants to suck your blood.
riding in on a horse with no name. It felt
Is
good
he
to
coming
get out
in
of
the
rain.
desert?
Get out of the rain.
But yeah, it's just that weird quick, edit shift into like a completely different scene just threw me. I was like, what in the world? You're doing so well, like cinematically and editing and everything. And that one little just like, you go from they're talking to he's riding on the horse. What in the world? I understand you're trying to get to the action scenes. I get that. But at least make it a clean transition, not just jump, he's on the horse. It's that just drove me nuts. So yeah, that's
It didn't drive me nuts, but okay.
yeah.
Fair enough. I didn't notice that, but sure.
All right.
Yeah.
You have a second dislike, Francisco?
Add it to the Kickstarter.
There we go.
There
Fix
you
that
go.
cut.
Vampire Hunter D remastered,
Yes.
Ultimate Edition.
More like unmasked.
Yeah.
Unmastered.
It's all pixel art.
Oh
Yeah,
god.
Actually, I'd watch that.
Yeah, right. Me too.
Do you have a second dislike, Francisco?
Yeah, so this is a big one, guys. I hated the Super Sentai Senpai, whatever the name is, Filmworks voice cast. It's just so not good. I think part of it is because I grew up as a teen college, etc. Watching the original dub of Vampire and D. And so I have all those voices in my head. So as I'm watching this, those voices are competing with a new voice. And I'm like, get out of here with the new voices. It's just, so, and not that the old voices were the best ever, but I really appreciated Lee's and his daughter's, Count Lee's and his daughter's accent that is totally gone in this version. I'm like, what the junk? Give them their accents back. And the only voice that I thought probably was improved was Dee's, which was great. I'm glad that Dee's, at least your main character's voice was better. The previous voice actor for Dee in the English dub was fine, but I did think this Dee's was an improvement. I forget the actor's name. But the worst was Dan's voice, the boys.
Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh. This kid's voice in this Super Sentai Senpai, whatever it's Filmwork Factory Works version, please leave. Just cut. Go. Let's add this to the Kickstarter, the unmastered version. Just get rid of Dan completely. We don't need him if you're gonna give him that voice.
Redub
so
him.
much better than the
Redub
original.
him.
Yeah, redub him. Maybe get a boy. Ever thought of that?
Yeah. Can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it's voiced by a woman. I could be
90% of the time it is.
It's voiced by a woman.
Yeah.
And that very drawn, Western, kind of a Southern accent. I was like, what
Yeah.
in the world is that?
Exactly. No one else talks like that
Yeah.
too. It's just so bad.
It's like,
So that
were you
was-
the first person to record and didn't hear anyone else's accents
Yeah.
for this movie? I know somebody has to be first. I don't know why you'd pick Dan of all people to be the first one.
Right.
But
Seemed like D or Doris.
Those two would make the most sense.
Your base,
build
yeah.
off of. Yeah. Anyway, so that was the thing I just hated about this.
And it could be, and I suspect this happens a lot, especially with, because I know Sentai is out of Houston, and seems to happen a lot this happens with Funimation a lot of times also with their dubs. Kids seem to always get the short end of the stick with the English voice actors.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a Texas thing or if it's just we don't have as much talent out here.
Okay.
But that's a theory. I honestly don't know.
You don't have any kids in Houston.
Apparently.
Ever.
Or not any kids that are willing to work in a voice actor.
No, the joke of having no kids anywhere is the funnier jokes. Come on, Drew.
You know I can't leave well enough alone.
I suppose not. All right.
Anyway.
Thank you for letting me get that off my chest. I feel much better.
It's fair. Admittedly, if I had known there were 2 dubs, which I should have assumed with an anime this old, there were 2 English dubs, I would have tried to find if my Blu-ray had both English dubs, which oddly enough, usually if there's more than one dub, English dub, it gives us both. Odd that this one only included the new one. I would have asked which one you would have preferred to go with for an English dub.
Well, High Dive only had this one,
Yeah.
so I was out of luck. But thank you.
All right, so kind of going back to what you were talking about, Francisco, it reminds me, myself being a huge Neon Genesis Evangelion fan, and I've mentioned that in the show before. So,
No kidding.
Shinji, get the robot.
I'm still waiting for you to force me to watch that for animated series.
Oh, it'll happen.
It'll be after we finally get done with Tangled, but
Oh my gosh, poor Tangled.
we did not start that particular project off.
No, we didn't.
way.
But either way. So me watching the original series, listening to the original cast, I was like, wow, this is a really good cast. And so then Netflix gets it and they redub it. I'm like, okay. So I listened to the first episode. I'm like, that's not Shinji. That's not Shinji.
Exactly.
Like, it's not the high squee or anything. I'm like, and you listen to everybody else. I'm like, that's not Ray. That's not Asuka. It's Asuka Laney Soyuz, not Asuka whatever. Like, what?
Not Oscar, whatever.
It's Asuka Laney Soyuz, not whatever they make her in this dub. It's like, what the crap are you doing?
Hey, at least it's not 4 kids.
Oh my gosh. that whoever did the what if 4 kids did the intro.
That is funny.
That is hilarious. If you ever get a chance to go on YouTube and find that, it is hilarious.
It is funny. I don't. I haven't even
A
watched all of
4 Kids version of
Evangelion.
Neon Genesis?
Yeah, the intro.
Yeah.
Oh, it is so
okay.
funny.
They
That's funny.
did a rap over the original theme song.
Oh.
And it is funny because it's very much it's very much in that style of those cheesy 4 Kids anime.
Yes.
They tried to Americanize it and take all the Japanese out of it.
Pretty much.
That
Yes.
But
But yeah.
it's still funny because you can tell it's a joke. I also like the King of the Hill version.
Oh gosh.
I haven't seen that.
But anyway,
Yeah, anyways, be
You're
like
just
when you said that, Francisco, that instantly reminded me of that because the Netflix dub is so different. I'm like, can we go back to the original dub? That was so much better.
I
But-
do not doubt you.
Yeah, but apparently the new Blu-ray release, which I'm gonna buy, I know that it has both dubs on it. I'm like, okay, thank you.
That makes sense because that way fans of both can enjoy the ones they like. I will just be happy if they actually put the stinking correct end theme on it.
Oh yeah, Fly Me to the Moon.
That's
Oh wait, I thought we were talking about Vampire and D again.
No, we're
Oh,
still talking about
you're talking about
Neon
he's
Genesis.
stuck on Evangelion. I've tried to get him off of it, but I can't get him to move. Dislike, sir.
Okay,
for
this-
Vampire Hunter D,
Okay.
not Evangelion.
Hey, I'm like a dog and be like,
I'm aware.
Yeah.
I've heard you bark.
yeah. If anybody doesn't know, I'm Tristan when I bark like a dog.
I'm still waiting for that to show up on the podcast.
It'll happen. Woof. I actually have former managers who every time they see me, they bark at me because it's a running joke.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
I'm just glad you take it with stride and don't get.
Exactly.
Mad at people
I'd be like,
for
oh, I'm offended
Right.
because you barked at me. Like, ha! I'll yell back at you. But
Anyway,
either way. All right.
Back to Vampire Hunter D.
D. So, okay. So, speaking of my Tourette's disorder, kind of
Epilepsy?
tying that back into, oh, the flashing lights. I'm like, oh, stop.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I can have seizures or epilepsy, and I'm like, because how I won't go into how they diagnose you if you have Tourette disorder, and they want to verify it. They literally strap you down to an electrical chair and turn on a strobe light. The worst experience ever.
I
Yeah,
imagine.
that
yes.
was terrible. They literally sent my parents out of the room because it was bad. I won't go into the whole detail. It's I'll tell you later. But
Okay.
watching this, like definitely towards the end, like I said at the beginning, like beginning of the show, there is a moment where their lights are going everywhere. I'm literally ducking my hand
Yeah,
over my
totally.
eyes, trying not to watch the flashing lights. I'm like, because I'm scared to death. I do not want to have a seizure because they're
Yeah,
not
of course
fun.
not. Yeah.
Because I've heard people say, "Oh, seizures are nothing." Have you had a seizure? It's terrible. It's like it's not one of the worst experiences I ever had, but it's more. I wouldn't be like, if you have seizures, you understand. If you've never had a seizure, you don't want to have a seizure. So having flashing lights in this, I understand it's the 80s. They didn't take into effect.
They didn't even think about
They
it.
didn't even think about it.
They didn't think about it until
Like
Electric Warrior Porygon episode of Pokemon.
yeah. Oh my
That's
gosh.
the one that
I'm
caused
never
all those-
watching that.
The kids to have epileptic seizures in Japan.
Yeah. But either way, it'd be
the
like,
late 90s.
yeah, this was just more. I hated it because before I was diagnosed with Tourette's, I could watch something like that. But now I have Tourette's, I can't watch it, and it was really irritating. I was like, oh come on, stop. It's I want to look, but I know that flashing light's gonna give me a problem because I twitch. My body just twitches. I'm like, okay, I don't want to deal with that. Okay, watching the film, it stopped. Okay, it's back again. Come on, stop. A brother wants to watch a film.
Right.
Yeah, so that was there again. It was the error. I understand. You just got to deal with it. But it was just it was irritating because I want to watch a film without having to. Thank the Lord, I have a brother in Christ who looks out for me, previews the film, and says, "Hey, watch out for this. This is gonna happen. It's gonna possibly cause your epilepsy, your seizures to happen. So be aware of that." So thank you again, Drew, for that.
Hey, it's
So-
just because I have a tendency to watch the film as early as possible.
Yeah.
Because I want to have time to for my brain to digest it.
Yeah.
So I end up watching it before you do. And
Yeah.
when I see stuff like this, my first thought is, I might want to warn Jacob.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So, yes, there again, like I said before, if you do have tendencies of having epileptic seizures, this show does have flashing lights. At one point, there's a strobing light. So, yeah, I give you far advance warrant. If you have a problem with that, just either know how to avoid it, watch it, or have someone preview for where they tell you where this happens where you can avoid it, or don't watch the film at all. That's the only
That's
the
the
only
unfortunate
downside
part of it.
I can give somebody. Because believe me, I worked with the youth department for years, and there was one point we were going to do like an event in another church, and it was going to be a strobe light. Now, granted, it's a little just one strobe light, and the youth minister was so scared to death. It's like, Jacob, you're not walking in that room, period, because he was scared I was going to have a seizure. And so yeah, that was the like one that was that second downside. It's like it has those strobing lights, and I want to watch it, but I know I can't because my seizures, and I don't want that. There again, I don't want anybody. If you never had
Right.
it, I pray you never do. It's not good.
Now, I know on the Blu-ray we watched, the contrast between those flashes was very bright because it was a very bright white light. That
Yeah,
was
very
strobing
bright
to.
white.
I know sometimes on the streaming services they dim that. Did you happen to notice that, Francisco? Because
I wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
but,
Okay.
I know sometimes
they could.
I know
but-
sometimes when they upload it for the streaming service, they will try to dim like the really bright lights. I think not necessarily for the epilepsy part, but
Yeah.
for
Oh wait, when Lee's minions came in and took down deactivated the fence and stuff, it became dark.
Yeah.
Okay, so it could be that at least for that version, they have at least.
No, I was making a
Less-
joke. Because, see, things get darker when
Duh.
they take all the stuff down.
I'm sorry.
And break the electrical grid.
Sorry.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought things went over my head.
I was focused on an issue, okay?
And I derailed you. Mission accomplished. End of show. Good night, everybody.
Well, in that case, let's just go ahead and jump into my last dislike.
Go for it.
Okay, I was paying attention to this movie.
Okay.
I guarantee you I was. But there's a number of parts where I was confused on some things.
Oh, okay.
Such as, despite the fact that Summary claimed that Lamika was a Dhampir, being half vampire, half human, I swear they didn't actually say that in there, other than he said at one point you could live like a Dhampir and live more like a human, and that's when she said, no, I'll stay as a member of the nobility. In my mind, it's like she could have been bitten after she was born, maybe. I don't know exactly how the vampirism works in this universe, but I could see maybe her mother was a human and he married her, but then turned his daughter into a vampire, or maybe turned them both. It was confusing, at least in this dub, what was going on there.
So how I have always heard it and interpreted it is that, Lamika's saying you can't bring this woman who's just, I forget how she describes her, but just like not royal blood in this family, and her dad's Lee is like, of course I can, because I did the same thing with your mother, and then that's what I'm not royal, I'm not fully pure blooded or something. And so that's my impression, that she was born of a human and Lee, who's a vampire.
Right.
And so that's why she's half and half, but not that she was bitten after she was born.
To some degree, I guess I was confused, because in my mind it was like, I get that, if she was born of a vampire father and a human mother, that would be a Dhampir. I get that part. But I was just confused, like, I guess in my mind I was thinking maybe he turned both of them, I guess. But that's not really, I don't know if that's not really supported in the film either. It's just, I don't know, there were just bits and pieces like that where it's like they quickly would gloss over something, and now it's lore you're supposed to know, and it's like, wait, I missed something here, and I never went back up. And
you have like more clarity.
And especially since this is anime, and most of the time the subtitles for anime are not based on the actual dub you're watching, it's based on the subtitled version. I did not have that playing at the time like I normally do with stuff, because sometimes I mishear things.
Happens.
Yeah. So I guess there was just little bits of confusion here or there I didn't quite get, and I don't know if that could be both the writing's fault, or it could just be the English version messing it up. So I'm not sure which. I didn't get a chance to go back and watch it in the original Japanese like I normally do with this stuff. But anyway, that's my second dislike. Anybody got anything else before we give ratings?
Nope.
Okay, Francisco, you're up. What is your rating for this on a 10-point scale?
On a 10-point scale, I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay.
I think it's definitely worth your time to watch. It's not as good as Bloodlust. I mean, there's so many improvements, from story to set pieces to animation to voice acting, that from what my memory, I haven't seen Bloodlust in a while. Bloodlust, I'd say, would be a 9. So this is down from that, but it's still worth your time to watch.
Okay. Jacob?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5. It's a really good.
In that case, I give it an 8.
I give it a 7.
Call. No, 7. I'm 7. I'm a 7. Go ahead, Jacob.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sure.
Just checking. All right. So 7.5. It's a great film. there again, be like nitpick, and the fact that it has those stinking strobing lights would strobe me nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. There again, if you don't have it, don't have the problem, great. If you got it, not so great. Let's say that. Great story, great characters, great reveal at the very end. Oh my gosh, he's Dracula's son? Son or grandson?
He's Alucard's brother.
Yeah. Exactly. Shocker of shocks.
Wait. How did this get into the Castlevania universe? Shouldn't one of these people be a Belmont then?
Son also? I was talking over you, Drew. What'd you say?
Shouldn't one of these characters be a Belmont then?
No, I thought Alucard was Dracula's son.
He is, but most of the heroes in Castlevania are Belmonts. Anyway.
Yeah. Either way. Yeah. Really great film. Yeah. 7.5. Drew?
Awesome.
I'm going to give it a 7. The animation is spot on. The bits of confusion I had are, those are more nitpicks than anything else, because for the most part, the film flows good. And my issues with the fan service, as I called it, I noticed them at first, but then it's like, okay, yeah, this is what it is. It's a rated R anime. It is what it is, and it's not
80s.
in your face.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a 7. All right,
Awesome.
that brings us to the end of the episode, which means we need to talk about what we're watching next. For the next 2 weeks, actually, we're going to be doing Batman: The Long Halloween, parts 1 and 2, with Dallas Mora of Geek Devotions for both episodes.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
It's all.
Oh, wait, did you say Dallas Mora?
Yes. Panda Boy.
Panda Boy.
That guy.
Yeah, him.
I'm kidding. I love you, Dallas.
So join us for the next 2 weeks for that at our normal time.
Yeah.
In the meantime, let me hit this.
Come, Jacob. We must prepare for next week.
Prepare for what, Drew?
The same thing we do every week, Jacob. Record a podcast.
Oh, boy.
Francisco, tell us where we can find you at.
You can find me at RetroRewindPodcast.com. That's the main place. So Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, all at Retro Rewind Pod. Also want to highlight, since this is an animated a show since Cellcast covers animated things, on Saturday mornings on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, I do something called Saracade Adventures, where I play games live that are like hand-drawn animated games, games that remind you of old cartoons of like the 80s and 90s. And I play those games. I'm there talking to everyone who's in chat. We have a lot of fun time. We have a fun time and experience these new games that remind you of cartoons of yore. So definitely check that out. Twitch.tv/RetroRewindPod.
Alrighty then. I guess that's going to be it for us then.
Yep.
So in the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
So where can they find you, Jacob?
You can find me on Facebook at Jacob B. Heron, also on Facebook at Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where I try to draw each and every day. I don't get to it as often as I like, but join me there. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Jacob B. Heron, on Twitter at Jacob Heron, and Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. So where can they find you, Drew?
You can also follow me on Letterboxd at GGeorge759, Facebook as Drew Dodgen, my Facebook page where you can see pictures I've taken at Drew's Photo Bin. You can also follow me on Twitter at GGeorge759.
You can email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on Twitter at cast_cell.
You can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/thecellcastgaming.
You can also follow us on YouTube at Cellcast,
Listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts,
Google Play Podcasts,
Stitcher,
Spotify,
and your favorite podcast directory.
You can also listen to us on the Movie of the Week podcast with Jim Heron, where we talk about live-action movies. And remember, Cell is a single L.